Welcome back, everybody. Just Mike here. Today I'm going to show how to put your clock away if you're tired of it, or possibly you're going to ship it. It needs to be packed halfway decent, and let me show you so far what you might need. So it's always nice to have some kind of packing tape. You don't necessarily need the roller, but if you ship a lot or whatever, you need that. It's nice to have some bubble wrap. This is a smaller bubble wrap, which comes in handy for like your pendulum and that kind of stuff. You need a box, but you need a box, obviously, that's going to fit your clock. Sometimes you need a razor blade, and so I guess, we got this too. Dust your clock off so it's clean when you go to put it away. Anyway, I think we need a clock now so we can use all of this or some of this or whatever. So I've chosen this clock. This clock has 8-day weights for it. 8-day weights are actually deadly shipping them with the clock, but it still can be done safely. Even your 1-day clocks, weights are terrible. When you go to put the weights in, it's nice if you can, let's say, put this in the box, have a weight on one side, and a weight over here on the other side, of course, wrapped. That way it gives the box an even feel when the carrier moves it around. We also need pipe cleaner so we can tie the chains together and tight underneath here. And the reason for that is so the chains don't loosen up and fall off. And possibly you should leave a note in here on how to dismantle your clock to get it back up on the wall. And so you'd mention this after it's hung on the wall to take it out. And also we're going to have, which I didn't show at the very first, but we have these bellow clips that I've made that's just a simple lightweight wire that actually bends easily. And so I'll be showing how to get those things on also. And it's good to have a snack bag. You can use a regular sandwich bag if you want, but you slide your chain in here after you have it hooked up with our pipe cleaner. Once you get it in there, you seal the bag as far as you can, then just put tape over this, and that's to help kind of contain the chain from wanting to slide all over, tangle up in the clock or whatever. So let's get started with the chain first. I have the clock propped up so the camera can see this better, and if you need to do that for yourself, fine. So we'll take the first two chains as these two are connected. And you got your choice. You can wind this chain all the way up, and so this hook is tight against there, or leave it down. We know that's where the hook is, so we're going to pull on this chain lightly, and we're going to stick this through the chain link, and then we're going to stick it through this chain link. And as you go, sometimes it starts getting tougher, and so you might want to take a pair of needle nose and start pulling it through to be able to get it all the way across. So far this is going pretty smooth, but this is an 8-day clock. Now it's starting to steer off on me, so I'm going to grab a hold of it, and we're going to stick it through this last chain. You can have a little bit of looseness, but try to limit that to trying to get these chains as tight as you can against this. Then here we're going to snip off to the size we need, and these are just bent over. So now our chains aren't going to fall off, and now we can take all these chains and put them inside this little bag we have here. Don't worry about these things getting tangled up. Once it's hung on the wall, you can untangle them, and it's better than having it tangled up through all these holes here and get into the movement. So here I'm going to shove all the chain to one end and seal this bag per se. Set the weight up here so it's not going to go anywhere. And now we'll get our tape. Just get a little piece off from it, and we're going to tape this bag shut. And yes, the chain will still want to slide out, fall out of the bag or whatever, but you're going to try to keep this kind of snugged up here as you're wrapping this with bubble wrap, so that way it's protected. Now when it comes to your pendulum and your topper, you want to wrap these, put a good single wrap, let's say around the topper, set this down on there and wrap it one more time, and this here can actually go right over the clock like this, and that's going to help protect the hands of your clock. But before I get carried away with that, I have the chain in the bag. Let's get to the back side. Did I forget to tell you, you need a paper towel too to silence this? So anyway, on your keepers, you start to slide it over the top of the bellow and push it in so the door can shut on here. Now the wire, which this one's fallen off, it's not even in there no more. I'm gonna have to get the wire on there before I do this. So you take these wires that you've made, and there's wires kind of like this when the clock was brand new and shipped to the person's house or whatever. They usually throw them away, is why you got to make your own. You want them snug enough that they're going to go on here and fit. And putting these on here and shoving them in all the way, like I say in a note, you want to put on there that you have clips over the bellows to remove them before you hang your clock. Otherwise this clock might fight through it, but it's going to be very limited if it even makes it through it. Anyway, with those on there, now these aren't going to want to be jumping up and down, and usually if they're going to jump up and down, they're going to start falling off. And then if you were sending this clock to someone, they're going to say, well, the bellows don't work. Well, that's because the wire fell off. And so you want to definitely put those on there. And I didn't have to worry about using this brush because I just got this clock done about a week ago, and so it's good. Like I say, it's good to brush it off. Use a paintbrush to brush off all the fancy carvings and whatnot, so that way it is clean and ready to be set up before you or when you take it out of the box. Here you got the Gong, and this is what it's going to do in the box when it's shipping. And it's not like you're trying to hide it, but technically speaking, you're trying to hide it if you're shipping it. So you don't necessarily want them to know it's a clock, because number one, it's none of their business. They're supposed to be protecting your packages anyway. But you lift the spring up. If I can get this in there, there we go. And this here is going to help prevent it from making noise. And you can just fold this over, you can stuff it up underneath the top ring, whatever is going to be best for you. And so now it's ready to be closed up. If it has a lock for the door, you can lock it shut. And also, if you lock it shut, let the person know by adding that on the note too, to unlock that after your clock is up on the wall. So this is the lighter bubble wrap. They make it a smaller bumped bubble wrap. So what I plan doing is bring this around. And I got a big old long piece. I don't need this big old long piece. Here's the pendulum. You set it on there, wrap it again, and realistically I'm going to cut it across here because I don't need that much bubble wrap for this. And these usually have an area where you can rip. I don't know if that'll rip or not, but I can see where this doesn't have, let's call it, any more bubble wrap right here. And now I can get a couple pieces of tape, stick it on there, bring it around. I'm sucking it up a little bit. And you're going to want to bend this over and this over and tape both of those parts too to hold the pendulum and that in place. So I have them taped over, and now just looking at it, this is actually the front of it. If that's how you want to do it, just look it over because sometimes they'll all be different. But here we have it securely, and when I say securely, I'm not talking about we taped it on here. This here's setting on there, and now I can wrap the whole clock with this bigger bubble wrap. Now, mind you, bubble wrap is usually excellent for if this box is going to get beat around, such as you're going to send it through the post office. Realistically, if this is going to be your keepsake, but you're going to move it yourself so you know what's going on with this clock, you could actually use crumpled up newspaper around to do what I'm doing right now. But normally you have friends that come over and help. They throw the boxes around. They might even stack some heavy boxes on top of this clock, so that's what you're going to have to deal with when that comes to moving or just putting it away for the winter or summer, or you're tired of it and you just want to have it safely wrapped up. So because I got all this bubble wrap here, I'm doing 2 wraps all the way around. And now I'll snug this up and I'll put one piece of tape here. So when you set this in the box, you can see it's open. Just pull this down. If you wanted to get another set of bubble wrap around so the ends are protected too, you do that. Otherwise, you can wait till it's in the box because you want to put some packing around this to keep this from moving around in the box also, because moving it around in the box is not safe for the clock either. And we're also going to set an 8-day wait here and on the other side, and it's going to be wrapped as well. You get too much on here, the more you put on, the bigger the box is that you're going to need too. So here I set it in the box. I still have room to get onto the sides, and this is a box where maybe I'd want a bigger one if I was to ship it, because like I say, they do throw these things around. And looking at this box here, you can see this one's already been smashed from a different clock coming in here, or this clock might have even come in this box. But normally you want a box that's going to protect your clock. So let's wrap the weights now. These things are deadly because how big they are. You want to roll them up a bit. So what we're going to do, fold this one over, and this one can be folded over this way, or it can be folded over the same way. It's not going to matter. If you do it the same way, you can run a piece of tape from back here, come across, push this down, come across again, and this weight will be done. Let me get the other one done now. So those have fallen clear down, and now you want to get some more packing in there, and whether you want to use bubble wrap or whether you want to use newspaper, whatever you use, make sure it's filled up in there so they don't want to come up. Curl that in around the clock so it fits nice and snug. And you see we still got a little bit left. Fill it with, like I say, fill it with newspaper or anything to take up any of the gap in here. So that way, like I say, it fits nice and tight in there. So I got it fitting nice and tight, and now I'm going to want to tape this box across this way to suck it in, and then I want to tape it across this way to help hold this end and this end in because they do want to spread. So if you were to mail this clock or even pack it away, don't forget to put the list inside this box so that way it's with the box. If you're just going to put it in your basement, we'll say, on the end you might want to, on the piece of paper, write on there that it's a cuckoo clock, maybe what the cuckoo clock is, if you have more than one, and write down, like I say, what you did to it in order to get it ready to go back on the wall again. And so I do know, or I'm pretty sure I had a video on this before, and so this one might be more clearer, or maybe you can check the clock list, Cuckoo Clock list, to see if I actually have a video of that. Like I said, I don't remember, and I didn't go back and look at my list either, but at least this box, this clock, is ready to be put away, so that way it's not going to be harmed with the weights on the side, and hopefully the box is big enough. Normally if I was to, I could ship this the way it is. If I want to feel safer, I'd get a bigger box, but the bigger it is, the more it costs. So you got to almost figure what's the value of the Cuckoo Clock if you're going to ship it compared to the size of the box, because when it comes to the size of the box, eventually the weight of the clock, such as those 8-day weights, doesn't matter because the box size now is overtaking the cost of what the weight would be. So I do hope this video was useful for you to be able to put your clock away or to ship it, compared to throw it in a box, throw one piece of paper in like GW might do. Sometimes they do wrap them good and sometimes they don't, and ship your clock or put it on the shelf until later. And if you're going to keep the clock yourself, I wouldn't throw it out in the weather, such as possibly a garage that gets really cold. It'd be better to be stacked up in a closet in the house to keep the moisture away, but using that bubble wrap is going to help a lot too, compared to just throwing it out there without any cover at all. And with it wrapped up like this, it's going to keep your clock cleaner and keep the value compared to what it might end up looking like after a year to 5 years before it's discovered again. Anyway, like I said, I hope this here helped you out. Don't forget to subscribe. Why? Because it's free. And until next time, God bless. Check out these other people I have on here. They have YouTube channels and working on Cuckoo Clocks themselves. And other clocks. Until next time, like I say, God bless.